The path won't appear until you decide. You know what you need to decide. Because until you actually figure out that this is what you're going to go for, that this is going to be your decision, this is going to be you're committed to it, then things start to change. But if you're not committed to it, it's not like the path is going to show up for you. See, sometimes we get stuck in this loop for reassurances, for guarantees, for a promise from God, from the universe, from from whatever, Mother Nature, that things are going to be fine. Number one, those guarantees don't exist. And number two, if you end up waiting for those guarantees, I'll move forward when my kids go to college. Once I get this amount of money, then I'll take that as a signal to follow this path. Once I'm going out with this person, then everything's going to be great. And then I'll be the person I'm meant to be. That's not how it works. That's a fool's errand. That's a fool's game. You're Sisyphus suddenly expecting the rock to get to the top of the mountain. No, things begin to move when you decide, when you commit, when you say, I want that. I'm willing to do what's necessary within my personal ethics to make that happen. I deserve this. I trust that this energy inside of me that's saying this desire for this, I'm trusting it's there for a reason. I'm trusting that that desire wouldn't be there if there wasn't some type of path forward. That energy inside of you, that signal, that's your milestone. That's your sign right there. Why do you think it's on the menu? Why do you think you have this longing desire for this particular thing or that particular outcome or experience? You ever think about that? Your internal compass is the signal, is the confirmation. And once you actually listen to that and say, yes, I'm listening to my higher self, I'm listening to my gut, I'm listening to this calling that I have, then the universe will conspire for you to have it. Not just from perhaps a faith-based or a scientific-based, Newtonian physics, for every action is equal and opposite reaction, whatever your system is, fact. It's faith or science or what have you. But it also represents a psychological phenomenon where if you believe and say, this is supposed to be the way I'm supposed to go, I'm committed to it, then your brain, your awareness, your intuition will start to see the patterns. If you don't trust that intuition, if you keep waiting for a signal, a guarantee, an insurance that you're going to quote unquote make it, you'll be waiting for a very, very long time. I don't want you to wait. Have you ever broken your own heart? I certainly have. I don't mean romantically that I could be part of it. We have a way as humans of doing self-inflicted wounds. We're overthinking, we're afraid, we are nervous about a loss before we even get the win. In Buddhism, they talk about there being a second arrow. So, thinking old school, you get shot with the arrow while you're in combat. It hurts. The second arrow is how you feel about the pain. So we're going to get bashed up. That's kind of how it works. I've definitely got bashed up in my life. You see some of the gray hairs. You probably have too, even if you're a kid. That's going to happen. I tell my kids all the time, you know, death, taxes, heartbreak, grief, maybe even love. A lot of things are going to be guaranteed. You can't protect yourself against the first arrow. You can't do that. If you protect yourself from the first arrow, it's like walking around in bubble wrap. That's not a life. That's not a life. At least not to me. I hope it's not to you. So I don't think you're intending to protect yourself to the point where you don't live. I don't think anyone sets out to do that, right? But it happens. And most of the time, it's not because of that first arrow, really. We know bad things are happening, especially when you get to my age or you have some time on this earth. No, the real reason why we avoid love, we avoid risk, we avoid commitment, we avoid needing anyone else or anything else, myself included, it's really because of the second arrow. It's because it's not because of the act itself. It's not because of the heartbreak or the loss. It's the shame, it's the guilt, it's the grief, it's the anger, which is really grief in disguise. And grief is just love that doesn't have anywhere to go. That's what we're afraid of. We're not afraid of that first arrow, we're afraid of the second one. And in being afraid of that second arrow, we end up breaking our hearts before we even have the experience. Are you breaking your heart right now? Believe it or not, that's sadder and more painful in the long run than actually having your heart broken. One of my favorite stories is the Notorious B.I.G., the rapper that died now a few decades ago. I was part of that generation that was around when he was alive. And he talked about his future. It was right before he got killed, actually here in Vegas, where I live. And he said, I don't want to get into the clubs, through the velvet rope, because I have the #1 album out, which he would have shortly after with the second album, Life After Death. No, I want to get into the clubs. I want to be respected and loved for who I am, not because I'm the hottest person out. I think about that all the time. When I'm coaching people, I'm a business coach, I'm an entrepreneur, and I've had the #1 books. I've been on the bestseller list. I've, sold my last startup. The assumption is that I won't always be the soup du jour, which I'm not. Got gray hairs now. I'm more behind the scenes. But so is Jay-Z. So is 50 Cent, if we're going to continue with the hip-hop music motif. And I mean, if you're my age or if you were in the club, no pun intended, you remember when they couldn't walk into a room with everybody screaming, when they had the #1 grip on pop culture. Think about your favorite artists. At one period of time, they're quote unquote on top of the world. And no matter how many antics happen, no matter how much they might have hustled, there's someone else in the spotlight. As creators, And I coach creators, perhaps like you. We have to know that. We're not always going to be on stage. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. There could be death. It could be a shift in culture. It could be a different generation and they're not rocking with what we have to give. But if you stick around in the business of whatever you are, I don't mean that you make a living with it. I mean the business of art, the business of creating. I'm fortunate. I've been doing this for decades. And once you get that long view, you realize everything goes in cycles. Your particular style of talking or style of rapping or style of music or style of crocheting or style of coaching, whatever your thing is. It might not be popular now, and it could be popular next year. And it might not be popular again. But if you stick with it, it continues. The key thing is to be patient with those cycles and those waves, like being a surfer, like being a swimmer. Those waves are going to continue. So you can either panic and then, quote unquote, sell out your art, start changing things up to stick with the times. Like the meme from the Airheads movie. Hey kids, how you doing? And it's someone that's like my age. You want to be that guy or gal? I don't. There's pieces of art that I created literally 2 decades ago that are suddenly in vogue. 2 decades ago. But that requires sticking to the program. And hopefully your program is based on who you are, not who you think you should be. Because that's going to stand the test of time. My guys above me, James and John. They've been dead for, in some cases, decades. They were who they were supposed to be. Even when James Baldwin had to leave for France. Even when John Coltrane was told that he was destroying jazz. But here I am. I'm not even sure if our lives overlapped. He might have been dead before I was born. And I'm listening, and my family's listening to his music. So that's the question then. If you want the white hot spotlight, as Jay-Z had said in a recent interview, then sure, you can aim for that. I've been in it a little bit, in my little small way. But if you want to stand the test of time, you can't be in the spotlight the whole time. You need time to grow. You need time to live the rest of your life. And most importantly, I would argue, you don't need to compromise your art. Because the world's going to turn, and eventually it'll turn your way. Even if it's after you pass away. It's amazing how much we compromise without realizing it. Back when I was in school, many moons ago, we talked about writers in particular, but creators in general, either having a sumo mind or a monkey mind. A sumo mind means you create something and you're slow to change it. You might be slow to take constructive criticism well. You might think that first draft, in my case, again, my background is writing, you might think that first draft is like perfect. It takes a lot to chisel it, almost like a sumo wrestler moving slowly. Most of us, though, are not sumo wrestlers. Most of us have a monkey mind. You might have heard that in different Eastern philosophies like Buddhism. A monkey mind is what you expect. You ever seen a monkey? Rarely still and fiddling with things and all that stuff. The thing is that this is a mindset that informs how we show up as creators. If you have a sumo mind, you might be launching stuff and it might have needed some revision. Been there. Hey, I might even be doing that right now. If you have a monkey mind, though, a monkey mindset, then that means you can tweak this, tweak that. It'll be ready. If I do this, if I just do this, if I just have the right camera, if I just have the right mic, if I'm just wearing the right clothes, if I do a few more videos, then it'll be ready. If I do one more draft, then I can share it. And as you can imagine, for a lot of us with monkey minds or the monkey mindset, that time never comes. It becomes the unfinished drafts. It becomes the ideas. I share what I'm working on with the people I'm closest to, my top 5, as Brene Brown would say. And if you have a top 5, you have someone or a group of people that you care about, if you're as lucky as I am, you might share those big ideas. Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then a week passes, a month passes, hell, a year passes. When you get to my age, maybe a decade passed. And your people are like, hey, weren't you going to do that thing that you're doing all-nighters on, and those things that you were hyped up on? You got the web domain for it or whatever. I was going to hook you up with that other person who was trying to do the same thing so you guys can collaborate. What happened to that? Blame the monkey. If we wait for perfect circumstances, then we're waiting on a train that's never going to come. There's so many things that I've done that got me here to you, to us hanging out, where if I waited for my monkey mind to say, oh yeah, it's ready to ship. Here's a secret. Your monkey mind's never going to tell you that. It's going to tell you what's wrong with it. It's going to tell you it needs this improvement. It's going to tell you it's going to be better in the long run if you just listen to me, if you just fix this. How many things have you, have I, have all of us creators never done? Time has passed. There's certain projects I would love to do and it's too late. Like, that cultural moment has passed. I'm not in that mind frame anymore to actually do that work. Sometimes the monkey wins. But the real secret to having a monkey mind, to this mindset, is knowing that it exists. So, you already won half the battle. Now what are you going to do?